Marvel Comics have announced that they are returning kind of to the Age of Apocalypse, supposedly to celebrate the 30th anniversary. We got all the details. Aaron, you're an enormous hex head. Are you excited to go to another alternate timeline where they actually tell you what's happening first?
No, not at all.
This October, the Marvel Universe enters the Age of Revelation, a new status quo taking place 10 years into the future and arising out of the current developments in the X-Men titles, in a move that pays homage to the 30th anniversary of the legendary Age of Apocalypse saga. Marvel is launching a transformative event that places Doug Ramsey, better known as Cypher, at the center of a radically altered world. After being welcomed into Cyclops' X-Men with open arms, Revelation sets out on the impossible task that Apocalypse entrusted him with, creating a world where only the fittest survived. Doug commands Earth itself with his voice, reshaping it as a utopian haven for mutant kind. What emerges is a chilling vision of paradise built on genocide, where the Revelation territories stretch from the Atlantic to the Mississippi, a mutant utopia ruled by the heir of Apocalypse.
So once again, they're just going back and they're replaying something we've seen before, but with a far inferior creative team.
Well, it'll be Jed MacKay, so he's probably the best writer that they do have. But I just don't understand a world in which a Doug Ramsey, no longer as Cypher, but now supposed to be the Revolution. Like, how are we supposed to take the character seriously as a true replacement for Apocalypse?
I mean, and no one read that series where he became Revelation. Nobody read it. I mean, you and I read it. But like nobody, it didn't really make a mark. It didn't really hit. It didn't really land. And so now you're going to take that obscure thing and you're going to try to whip it up to this big crossover. And it was obvious that they were going to try to do something with it from that series. You know, at least you hoped they were going to try to do something with it, because otherwise, why do this miniseries? But unfortunately, the miniseries was terrible, aside from some really nice art by Neto Diaz.
I think Apocalypse certainly would have went after somebody just a little bit more powerful, because there are characters out there that have ties to him, Archangel being one, and there's several others that have been the heir apparent to Apocalypse in the past. And it felt like when they did the Doug Ramsey Cypher as Revelation thing, it was more of a joke than anything.
Yeah, I mean, that whole series was kind of a joke from a writing standpoint. But, you know, like, you can do that. Like, Apocalypse obviously has the power to do that. He made Caliban pretty, you know, like, pretty powerful tank character, you know. You've established that he can do that sort of thing. But, like, I don't think that Cypher is that interesting. Like, he's just never been that interesting of a character. Like I said, the most interesting thing he did was get killed. We got a good story about death out of it from Louise Simonson and Brett Blevins. So the only interesting thing he's ever done. It's just a different coat of paint on the same story over and over and over again. It's not going to be good. They don't have a person in charge of the X office with any sort of creative vision. He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't like the X-Men. He said that from the outset. He's just been asleep at the wheel the entire time. He says really dumb things that, you know, to the detriment of the line. He does incompetent things like, you know, put in... like make Weapon X-Men a miniseries instead of an ongoing. You know, it's like he's asleep at the wheel. He's hired creators who are not that good, you know, who are not bringing it, who don't have any, like, exciting ideas. And the problem is you have to be part of this larger tapestry. So even if you had a creator who was like, I've got some really good ideas, he has to run it through the filter of all the bad writers that they've got on these other books.
And it's a really bad time to do at a big event like this. Like, nothing is really selling. Even the mainline X-Men title isn't a top 10 selling book. I think only Ultimate Wolverine is one of the better selling books in the entire industry. And obviously that has nothing to do with this here. The X-Men line couldn't be more dead. And the fact that they're going to try and do it in an all new event, aping something that happened that was very successful over 30 years ago, they have to know better than that. This thing is going to bomb worse than One World Under Doom.
I mean, they're just doing stuff, Wes. They're just doing stuff. They know it's not going to work. You know, you got to do something, right?
It's hard to sell people on an event when you can't even get your X-Men and Uncanny X-Men and Wolverine comic books right. Like, no one's going to trust that this thing is going to do anything worth actual reading. The event launches with a carefully orchestrated rollout designed to ease readers into this new dark timeline. This week, select retailers will receive a shadow drop variant of Age of Revelation number 0, a prelude one-shot by X-Men writer Jed MacKay and artist Humberto Ramos that reveals how this new status quo came to be. The true kickoff arrives in October. Age of Revelation Overture number 1 by Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman serves as a foundational alpha issue for this new series. and Ryan Stegman providing both interior art and cover work. McKay, who has been steering the current X-Men title, takes on the monumental task of architecting this future timeline, expressing his excitement about traveling to the alien future, the Age of Revelation, where the story is unfolding in the Revelation territories and beyond will decide whether this is the dawn of a new world or the end of one. So we're going to get a Zero issue that's kind of coming out right now. It kicks off with a number one issue called Overture, but at least they put Jed McKay and Ryan Stegman on it, the two biggest names that they have in the entire line. And they aren't mentioning, oh yeah, Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig are going to be on the book, and Steve Fox is going to be on the book, and Eve Ewing is going to be on a book. So they haven't really watered it down too much yet.
Now, you know that's going to happen, though. Gail Simone's going to be on this book, and, it's like, and so-and-so is going to be on this book. It's going to be the same creative team again and again. It's just the same people that haven't been moving the needle coming back in and shuffling deck chairs around on the Titanic. Nothing feels exciting anymore. That's the really bad part. And even like videos I see that's like, oh, here's a comic review, a positive comic review. It's like you're lucky to get like 1,000 views on that. There's just no excitement around Marvel Comics right now. And this is not going to move the needle. This is not going to change their fates. This is just going to be another mediocre selling. They might get a little bump out of it. Might get some of their books, up into the top 100 again. For a brief period of time, a couple of them. But it's not going to last. Everything with Marvel is just short-term strategy. There's no long-term plan. There's no building anything. There's no actually you have to put in the work for that. And Tom Brevoort has proven time and time again, he's not a guy who's interested in putting in the work. Not maybe he was once, but not anymore.
I'm going to have a video talking about these really, really bad X-Men sales numbers that they've been experiencing as of late, really demonstrating the amount of disinterest basically in the entire brand across the board. And I don't think just aping a story that was very, very successful and doing it poorly is the way back. I think you have to go to the foundation levels and really start building the X-Men up with exciting stories with creators that really like the teams, but clearly they're not willing to put in that kind of work. The scope of Age of Revelation extends far beyond the X-Men core of the Marvel Universe, fundamentally reshaping the entire publishing line for the foreseeable future, with series like Amazing X-Men, Unbreakable X-Men, and Expatriate X-Men, and also impacts the wider Marvel Universe with launches such as Radioactive Spider-Man, X-Vengers, and Iron and Frost. The event promises to explore not just the surface-level utopia of Revelation territories, but the underground resistance movement brewing in the shadows. As a ragtag X-Men team strikes from the shadows, Revelation faces threats from within. Even in Doug Ramsey's carefully constructed world, the fundamental struggle between oppression and freedom continues to define the mutant experience, setting up what could be Marvel's most ambitious alternate timeline event since the original Age of Apocalypse itself. There's going to be 16 books that are released when this happens. Marvel don't have 16 writers to write 16 books. Marvel don't have 16 artists that would be worth putting on that many titles. And once again, they're going far too big with their X-Men line.
Also, that description, it's like, oh, the oppression and blah, blah, blah. It's just more X-Men oppression porn. That's all that they have anymore. That's all that these writers seem to think that the X-Men are. And it's so tiresome. And you're already coming off of an event that I know nobody's reading, One World Under Doom, where you have a despot character and the resistance and the underground and all these same themes. You're already doing it in One World Under Doom. Now, granted, you're doing it incompetently, and I think that Jed McKay can probably do a better version of it than Ryan North can do on his best day. But it's not interesting, and it's just more of the same. What are you doing?
And they said they came up with the worst X-Men title ever for a comic book, Expatriate X-Men. My assumption is that's going to be Eve Ewing's book because it has the dumb name.
I mean, probably. You're probably right. Because, the current book that Eve Ewing has, that's canceled, right? That's I guess all the books are canceled in favor of... this is how you hide a cancellation, Hugo. We're doing an alternate universe.
It's hard to get excited about this. You're like, well, maybe I should get into Age of Revelation. Maybe it won't be that bad. Then you're like, oh, it's 16 titles and we don't know how long it's going to last. My assumption it's at a minimum 3 months, but possibly 4.
I think it's
16 titles. You assume 4 of them are going to be $5. The other 12 are going to be $4. So that's $68 a month for this. Could come up to almost $300 for the entire event.
You could get a Cobra classified Stinger for $68. That's $68 much better spent.
Speaking of better ways to spend money, There is a comic book out there called Neil Before Doomface.
You got a week left, 1 week left to back Neil Before Doomface because we're going to be closing it out and sending out the backer kits. So, guys, go check it out.
But I'm expecting the full gamut of bad writers in here. I'm expecting Eve Ewing, Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing. I'm expecting Steve Box. I'm expecting fucking Zeb Wells on these books. I'm expecting every failed writer that Tom Brevoort has worked with to throw it all into one event to remind you why Tom Brevoort being on the X-Men was a terrible idea.
Maybe get some Cody Ziegler in there, yeah?
Certainly Cody Ziegler will be in there. Got to have some Dennis Camp. Who doesn't want that?
Why does anyone read Marvel anymore? Honestly. Why does anybody bother?
Well, this book is specifically written for you. This event is aimed at you, people that liked Age of Apocalypse, that want to re-experience what it was like the first time with Age of Revelation. And I just don't see it working out at all. I think it turns off people that it's supposed to be written for.
Okay, so it's made for me. It's made because I liked Age of Apocalypse. So is Scott Lobdell writing it? Is Joe Madeira coming back and doing art? You getting Roger Cruz in there to do some art? The Kubert's coming in.
On here,
yeah. Get some Fabian, get some Kubert, get some Kubert art on there because that's what I liked. I didn't just like the characters, although I do like the characters. But the reason that I like the characters is because of the artists and the writers that worked on them, and the artists and writers that work on them now I don't like. So therefore, I don't like the characters in their hands. So no, it's not for me.
If you appreciate this conversation, there's more of this going on Think Critical Patreon. We're going to go another 2 hours talking about Superman, talking about video games, all kinds of stuff this week. If you want to check it out, you have to go to the Patreon. There's a link in the video description.